young people are struggling to find work. At the same time, they are dealing with issues of mental health, GBV, substance abuse, and the list goes on. Now, Higher Health is stepping in to help. It says alongside work and trade skills, young people also need soft skills and civic education. For more on this, we are joined by Higher Health CEO, that is Prof. Ramnik Ahluwalia. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't butcher your surname there, Prof. But thank you so much for joining us this morning. We just celebrated Youth Day yesterday, and we know that youth unemployment is a massive issue in this country, and everybody seems to have a plan. But of course, it's going to be about implementing those plans. But there's also other issues at play here, isn't it? Let's just get your opinion on this.
No, thank you very much. You're absolutely right. We are a young country. We're just 30 years old. Our median age is 27, so which means the majority of our population is young people in South Africa. And in Africa, the median age is 17, so it's absolutely a young continent in general. And when we have 1 in 3 young women suffering with gender-based violence, we have 1 in 4 in education, 1 in 5 youth suffering with mental health. We have a very high incidence of HIV. We probably, a nation, unfortunately grapple with massive drugs and alcohol and substance abuse. In fact, one of our studies shows with WHO that 65% of every gender violence case in South Africa is preceded by drugs and alcohol. We probably are estimating about 60% of our population in colleges abusing drugs and alcohol every month. And similarly, the list goes on. And then we add into the complexities of only 58.6% of population actually voting, as we saw in our recent elections. Our democracy is under strain at this moment. So civic education, issues of soft skills become priority for job market. Soft skills are empathy, how people deals with conflict management, leadership, digital citizenships. We're talking about understanding of climate change, financial literacy, issues of mental health, gender equality, and the list goes on. And of course, if we can build patriotism, we can build civic and respect to our constitutional rights, human ethics and human rights, we build a holistic youth. So with us, we're now trying to enforce co-curriculums, mandatory civic and soft skills, as much as we're building hard skills, whether it's a high school learner, whether it's teachers coming out, whether it's university outputs, whether it's youth not in training and not in education, or whether it's youth in colleges or technical colleges or vocational system. Every young person needs to be built holistically, not just by saying employment will be fixed by hard skills. It will be fixed by hard skills and soft skills.
Very important, to have both of those factors play a role when it comes to making sure that our youth is employed. I want to go back to what you mentioned earlier when it comes to substance abuse. We see this a lot within our youth in all areas. So it is something that is plaguing our nation at this point. Do you think it's because the youth feel like they are not being seen, they are not being prioritized, and also there's just a lack of motivation generally?
It's a vicious cycle. It's interconnected issues. A developing country which is poor, where most of the young people maybe not have jobs, what's the sense of pleasure left? What is the cheapest form of pleasure? It's either sex or drugs and alcohol addiction and abuse. And that's why resilience among youth is very critical. Youth needs to understand that these cheap forms of pleasure are short-lived and they affect the entire future that lies ahead of them. Yes, these are transient, difficult periods, and that is a time where empowerment of youth really has to happen. This is a very sensitive age group between 15 and 24, before adulthood, and that's where maturity of a youth is tested, resilience is tested. And I think these peer influences of drugs and alcohol, these forms of pleasures eventually destroy a future. And I think this is why early onsets of civic education, early onsets of building resilience among youth, building an education system, building a training system that builds a youth equipped to deal and have resilience is critical. Unfortunately, peer influence will remain. It's not only in South Africa, it remains all over. But what it comes towards controls, what it comes towards not called the word abuse, how do we protect individuals from addictions? These challenges remain only through empowerment and education and building family structures that build a youth around.
Very true. When it comes to upskilling our youth and getting skilled workers out there, I think that's also something that everybody's been talking about. A lot of experts also saying that we need to put focus on, providing skills to our youth so that they can go out into the job market and not just necessarily go to universities, get a degree, and then hope for a job. TVET colleges are being overlooked. That's also something that's being said. Why do you think we need to change our mindset when it comes to universities versus TVET colleges, the one's better than the other? How do we change that mindset in South Africa?
The interesting part is if you look at the bigger economies, you look at the first world countries of Japan, you're talking about countries in US or in Europe. All these countries are actually growing because of TVET colleges or vocational colleges, industry specific. You're talking about, agricultural industry. You're talking about mining industry. You're talking about fisheries. South Africa is blessed with automobile industries, mining sector. All these people, electricals, plumbing system, they all come from technical and vocational colleges. South Africa has gone one step forward. It has also built called community colleges. Community colleges where, like customer services, where you do not need matrics, you do not need grade, you need basic literacy and get skills to get jobs in the system. And I think also with soft skills, if we start establishing soft skills from high schools or in community colleges and vocational colleges system, you also create something called alternative employability. Remember, 30% of jobs in the future will be coming from social entrepreneurships. Where does social entrepreneurships come from? They come from all the soft skills a human develops within him or herself. So you're absolutely right. Universities is not just a solution of skills building. Our vocational colleges, our technical colleges, our establishment in high school systems, our establishment in community college system, building more empowerment in youth, even though not in education and training. All these collectively will add skills building and skills system for some forms of employability and some forms of systems which the nation can be blessed with. And of course, what the nation needs is people be so strong, youth be so innovative. Like, for example, soft skill is climate change. New jobs are going to come in climate change. The importance of understanding of blue economies, green economies, right at the young age. These will bring entrepreneurial in a different level. And I think the whole country will prosper from that angle.
It's important that you mention those things because I think it's sometimes overlooked, climate change and the list that you mentioned, but also artificial intelligence, for example. It's things that, our youth definitely need to look at as an alternative option. It's not just the things that were usually there that will get you an opportunity in the work market. A school that I've recently seen is the Wellington School of Skills, where these students, they have these products that they make, but also these skills and services that they deliver. And every weekend there is a market where they can actually get the community comes, they actually pay very low prices for these products and services. Would you like to see something like that happen at various institutions as well, where whilst you are learning and gaining these skills, you can also learn how to become an entrepreneur?
In fact, we're going a couple of steps forward. When we're talking about implement, and you were right when you started this engagement, you'd say there are a lot of people talking about number of initiatives, and the actual reality will be is how many will be implemented, and those which are implemented will show impact, will show actually outcomes, where our young people will come out with more entrepreneurship skills or skills, getting them jobs or coming them out of employment, or getting them employment, and of course, getting them out of poverty levels, which obviously this is what our nation's eventual goal should be around. So civic and soft skills, which I have been talking about, now starts becoming mandatory in institutions of higher learning. We're trying to build a system where when you're building skills in, say, even schools, teachers, For example, a simple example is every in a mental health, the first symptom of mental health happens before the age of 15 in 50% of cases. And 75% cases of symptoms happen before the age of 24. Does even a teacher understand this issue of mental health and when the learners are there? So it confines towards teachers' education, confines towards learner in building a holistic youth. So you're absolutely right. If we start building these skills parallel to the mainstream education system, what we are trying to build is we're building a holistic youth around our country. And if we start seeing a holistic youth coming, a youth will not be only emphasized towards what he or she has been aspiring to become through an education system, and it's challenging at times when job market, but a holistic youth will think out of the market, out of the thinking, will be more in digital literacies, more in AI, more in climate change, and will explore interesting issues. So schools like Wellington will now start becoming more in public schooling systems, public college systems, public university systems, where youth during its first year itself will start having acquired skills which will start making them see the world in a more holistic, on a bigger prospect or a 360 view, and start exploring them for a future that they aspire towards be.
All right, thank you so much. A very insightful conversation. That was High Health CEO, Professor Ramnik Ahluwalia. Thank you so much for your time.